Hi everyone, this is Adam from Recreation Services, and today I'm going to talk about the mind-muscle connection. So as you know, your brain controls all movement. So you get an idea that you want to do a specific movement, your brain then sends a signal to that region and then produces that movement. The mind-muscle connection is a more focused approach to movement. So rather than thinking, I want to do this movement, you think, I want to contract this muscle to produce this movement. So it's a more conscious and deliberate muscle contraction where you're then focusing all your tension into a specific muscle group or muscle. The benefits of the mind-muscle connection are that when you're focusing on a specific muscle rather than just a movement, you're sending more neurotransmitters to that muscle. So you're getting a greater activation of that muscle, including the higher threshold muscle fibers that might not get activated until a more maximal contraction. So you're getting a fuller contraction and just a more intense contraction. So because you're working those muscle fibers more and activating more of those muscle fibers, you're getting greater strength gains in your desired muscle group. At the same time, you're reducing compensation. So for shoulder retraction, for example, which we'll cover when we're breaking down our exercise, the goal is to activate your rhomboids to then retract your shoulders, your shoulder blades, and bring them closer together in the back. However, your mid-traps also might do shoulder retraction, especially if they're stronger and they're just a more dominant muscle. So when you're thinking just, I want to retract my shoulders, your mid-traps might just go, I got this, and, do the movement for you. Where if you're thinking, I'm contracting my rhomboids, which is the desired muscle, you're contracting your rhomboids and they're getting the strength gains that they need, rather than just, bringing in the traps to do some of that work or maybe most of that work, and then you're not really getting stronger where you want. So we're gonna break down a row, which has three main components. So you're having bicep flexion, which we're gonna ignore a little bit because that's a little more intuitive. You have scapular retraction, which I just mentioned, and then you're activating your lats as well to do the pulling portion of the row. So ideally, especially when you're learning the mind-muscle connection, it's ideal to do one cue at a time so you can kind of break down an exercise. So today we're breaking down the row into two parts, and we're kind of ignoring the third part. So the first thing we're gonna do is work on scapular retraction. You're gonna grab a band, stand nice and tall, shoulders down and back, and then you're just gonna squeeze your shoulder blades back together. I'm gonna move from the side here, stand nice and tall, squeeze your shoulder blades back. You can do, 2 or 3 sets of 10 as kind of a warm up for that, or it can be done at the end of an exercise. But nice scapular retraction is gonna be right at the end of that row. Before we get to that part, you're gonna be using your lats. I'm gonna do a version of an overhead pull here. This can be done with dumbbells or bands or whatever, but just so I don't have to move, I'm gonna use the cable stack here. So ideally, you're using your lats here. The lats are a little easier to feel because you can actually feel it yourself. And if you can just kind of create tension here and just feel it get hard underneath your fingers, you know that you're using the right muscles. Here, I'm just gonna be pulling down to my hips and back up. So now that I've activated that muscle beforehand, I know what that feels like, I know what I need to do to activate my lats. So as I'm doing my reps, I'm thinking about activating my lats, specifically my lats, not just this is my movement, I think I'm contracting my lats. And that helps kind of focus my attention. So once I've done shoulder retraction and I feel good about that, I move on to the lats, I focus on that, and now I can combine it all for the row. Stand back a little bit. For the row, again, I'm standing nice and tall, shoulders down, shoulders back. We're gonna activate our lats to bring our elbows back. As we get to the back here, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and then back to the start. So fire the lats, squeeze it back. Rhomboids at the end there. Again, lats, rhomboids, visualizing that contraction throughout. While you're thinking about specific muscles, you will feel that it's a fuller, more intense contraction. Some tips to help improve the mind-muscle connection. doing a lot of warm-up sets where then you can really focus on the specific muscles you're trying to move. As things become heavier, more maximal, you're more likely to bring in some of those secondary muscles. So really do some warm-up sets where you can really emphasize the muscles that you're trying to work. Slowing the movement down also helps. So you can really just kind of go through the movement, really think about the contraction, really think about the muscles you're trying to use. Between sets, you can spend time flexing the muscles you're trying to move. So you can just stand here and really think of activating your lats and touching them and be like, yep, that's how I activate my lats or biceps or, you know, portions of your quad or whatever, for whatever exercise it is. And then touching the muscle really helps. So I can do that right now with my lats. Maybe you need a partner. If you're doing, say, your rhomboids, your partner can then say this muscle, contract this muscle, and then you can feel it get harder underneath the finger. So touching the muscle really helps you know that you're activating the right muscle. And then once you figure out, you know, how to contract that muscle, then you can kind of take it into your movement. And then visualizing. So a little bit of anatomy knowledge helps if you know which muscles you're supposed to be using and where they connect and stuff like that. It helps you really visualize muscle contractions. But even once you have figured that out through palpation or anything like that, once you've figured out how to contract those muscles, really visualizing those contractions really helps intensify your focus on those muscles. Give that a try. Think about other movements and how you would break those down into components and really kind of focus on each of the muscles that you need to build that mind-muscle connection with, and take that into your workouts and hopefully you can see some bigger improvements. Good luck.
Stay hard.